I thought I was about to become a father. That day in my parents' backyard, standing next to my girlfriend under a big black balloon, I imagined blue or pink confetti fluttering down and everyone cheering. I imagined hugging Maya, maybe even crying, because I wanted that moment, the beginning of a family, a future. But when I popped the balloon, it wasn't confetti that fell. It was a stack of photos. And in front of everyone I loved, Maya turned to me, ice in her voice, and said, "Congrats. It's not your baby." Everything stopped, but I didn't fall apart. I stood up, stared her dead in the eye, and said, "That's not the only secret." And that's when the door burst open, and the real story began. What happened next was surprisingly unexpected. I will tell you everything. First, let me thank you for your continuous support. If you love stories like this one, support us by subscribing to this channel and comment where you are watching us from. It will be great to hear from you. Now let's jump into the details of what happened. I always pictured myself the kind of guy who'd cry happy tears at a gender reveal. You know the type, soft smile, one hand over his mouth, the other holding the mother of his child. That quiet, overwhelmed kind of joy you see in those heart-melting Instagram reels. That was supposed to be me. I had spent the last month planning every detail of the party. I coordinated with Maya's best friend. I hired a local bakery to make pastel-colored cupcakes with matching decorations. And I even had this elaborate balloon centerpiece custom-made. A big black orb filled with colored confetti and a small note that would drop out once popped. It's a boy. Or it's a girl. Simple, sweet, symbolic. Just like our life was supposed to be. Maya had been acting strange lately, sure. Moody, withdrawn, too glued to her phone. But I chalked it up to hormones. Everyone said pregnancy changes a woman, makes her distant, snappy, maybe even paranoid. I ignored the signs. I gave her space. I loved her the way I thought a good man should, unconditionally, even blindly. The party was set in my parents' backyard. Late autumn sun poured through the golden leaves, casting a soft glow over the setup. Tables with lavender runners, trays of finger foods, tiny mason jars filled with lemonade and pink and blue paper straws. People mingled, my cousins, her work friends, neighbors we barely knew. My mom flitted around playing hostess, even though I told her to relax. And Kevin, my older brother, was drinking beer like it was water and charming the hell out of everyone, as usual. I'd always had a complicated relationship with Kevin. He was the golden child growing up, star quarterback, straight-A student, always bringing home trophies while I stayed out of the way with my video games and sketchbooks. He had this charisma that turned every room into his stage. It was both hypnotic and exhausting. And no matter how many times I told myself I didn't care about being in his shadow, some part of me always hated the way he could make people laugh, while I had to earn affection like it was on layaway. But I let that slide today. I told myself, today isn't about old wounds. Today is about the future. I stood by the balloon setup, Maya at my side, a big smile plastered on her face. I remember thinking, God, she's beautiful when she smiles. Her hand rested on her small bump. We'd only told family and close friends. She was just starting to show. All right, I called out, lifting the small pin that would pop the balloon. Moment of truth, everyone. Phones came out. Maya gave a little squeal and clutched my arm. Someone shouted, "Team girl." Another, "Team boy." I popped the balloon. But instead of blue or pink confetti fluttering out like I'd envisioned 100 times, a stack of photos fell to the ground. Glossy, unmistakable, dozens of them. I stared at them, unblinking, as they rained down like some kind of sick ticker tape parade. At first, people laughed, thinking it was a prank. Then silence. Then the gasp. I bent down and picked one up. My brain stalled. It was Maya, in bed, with someone else. But not just someone else. Kevin, my own brother, in my house, in our bed. Maya didn't look embarrassed. She looked victorious. Her smile dropped into something cold, calculating. She turned to me as the air thickened with the weight of 100 people holding their breath. "Congrats," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "It's not your baby." I don't know how long I stood there, frozen. My hand was still holding the pin. My mouth was dry. My vision narrowed. I heard my mom gasp. Someone dropped a glass. Kevin, God help me, had the audacity to smirk. But what they didn't know, what she didn't know, was that I already knew. I knew 2 weeks ago when I opened her phone by mistake and saw the messages. I knew when I followed her to his condo and watched her go inside. I knew when I stood outside like a coward for 25 minutes, praying I was wrong. And ever since then, I'd been planning this. I let the photos fall from my hand, one after another, like dead leaves. Then I stood up and said, calm as anything, "That's not the only secret." The crowd rippled. A few people gasped again, this time with a different flavor, anticipation. And right on cue, the back door burst open. Rachel walked in, dressed in black from head to toe, holding a manila folder in one hand and a fury that could melt bone in her eyes. I hadn't seen her in almost a year. She'd been my best friend since we were kids, the only person who ever stood up to Kevin, the only one who ever saw through his golden boy act. She disappeared after last Thanksgiving, ghosted everyone. I thought I'd done something wrong. I didn't know the truth until she finally reached out 2 months ago. And when she told me what Kevin had done to her, everything in me shattered. The balloon wasn't the reveal. This was. Maya's mouth opened slightly. Rachel. Kevin took a slow step back, like maybe if he didn't breathe, he could disappear. Rachel's voice was low, but sharp. Tell them, Kevin, or I will. He didn't speak, didn't blink. She walked up to him, handed him the folder. Go ahead. Open it. Let them see. He didn't move. So she did. Photos. Screenshots. Dated texts. A handwritten letter. A police report that never went anywhere. Maya turned pale. My mother started crying. I told Daniel what you did, Rachel said, facing the crowd now. I told him what you did to me after that party. How you cornered me. How you told me no one would believe me. And you were right. For a long time, I believed you. But not anymore. Kevin laughed. Not loud, not confident. A scared, cornered animal sound. This is bullshit. You're trying to ruin my life because I didn't want you. That's what this is. But nobody moved to defend him. Nobody said a word. My dad had stepped out at some point. Maybe he knew something was coming and didn't want to be part of it. Or maybe he just never had the stomach for confrontation. Rachel kept talking, her voice cracking. You made me feel like trash. Like I didn't matter. Like what you did to me wasn't worth remembering. And everyone just kept praising you. Kept loving you. I disappeared because I couldn't stand to see how good you had it. I wanted to reach for her. To say I was sorry for not knowing, for not doing more, for letting her suffer alone. But all I said was, you're not alone anymore. Kevin turned to leave. Don't you ing move, I said. My voice came out louder than I expected. It startled even me. I'm done watching you get away with everything. Everyone was staring now, not at Kevin, not at Maya. At me. Kevin stood still, frozen like a damn statue, but I could see the panic creeping into his eyes. That twitch in his jaw, the slight shift in his stance, like his fight-or-flight instinct was weighing its odds. I swear if the fence gate had been closer, he'd have bolted. But the problem with being a golden boy is that when your shine starts to fade, people finally notice how much rust you've been hiding underneath. Rachel stood beside me, still holding the folder. Her knuckles were white around its edges. I could feel her trembling, not out of fear, but because it took everything in her not to fall apart. And I admired her for standing there, in front of all the people who used to adore Kevin, refusing to be silent any longer. You gonna say anything? I asked him. Kevin finally spoke. This is insane. You're ruining a damn baby shower over something that never even happened. Maya scoffed. Oh, shut up, Kevin. Don't act like I didn't see the scratches on your back. You told me she wanted it. A wave of nausea hit me. The way she said it. The ease in her voice. Like it was nothing. Rachel's head snapped toward her. You knew? You knew what he did. Maya hesitated, and for the first time, her confidence cracked. He said it wasn't like that. Rachel stepped forward. And you believed him? Even after I disappeared for a whole year. Maya's silence was all the answer we needed. The air was thick with disgust now. Someone near the back muttered something like, Jesus Christ. Another voice chimed in. This is messed up. I noticed my Aunt Lisa pick up her purse and whisper something to her husband before heading for the gate. My cousin Marcy, who used to idolize Kevin, was crying. The gender reveal was over. What remained was a crime scene without the tape. Kevin's hands were out now, palms up, trying to control the narrative. You people are letting your emotions cloud everything. You think you know what happened that night, but you don't. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't have to. I know you deleted the voicemail Rachel left me. His eyes twitched. And I know, I added, stepping closer, that you used my own house, my own damn bed, to sleep with Maya while I was working overnight shifts trying to support her. That's when Maya broke. Her voice cracked like glass under a shoe. Daniel, I didn't mean. Don't. I snapped, the word coming out of me like a whip. Don't say you didn't mean to hurt me. You meant it. You planned it. You stuffed those photos in that balloon to humiliate me in front of everyone. She looked like she might argue. Instead, she sank into a chair and buried her face in her hands. The hush around us was louder than any scream. Rachel nudged my elbow. You sure you want to keep going? I nodded. They all deserve to hear it. So she read the letter. The one she wrote a week after it happened. The one where she described every awful moment, every word Kevin whispered, every time he called her crazy for pushing him off. She didn't read it like a victim. She read it like a survivor. When she finished, the silence was different. Heavier. Final. No one could unhear what she said. No one could pretend they didn't know anymore. That's when my mother finally spoke. Daniel, please, this is your family. I turned to her. No, this is your family. Mine doesn't include men like Kevin or women like Maya who protect them. She looked wounded, like I'd slapped her, but I didn't back down. I'd spent too many years swallowing my voice to protect the image of a happy family. That illusion was shattered now, and I wasn't putting it back together just to make her comfortable. Kevin stepped forward again, this time toward Rachel. Look, I don't know what version of that night you remember. I blocked him before he could get closer. Don't. You say one more word to her, and I swear to God, you'll need more than lies to protect yourself. His jaw clenched. He looked like he wanted to hit something. Me, maybe. But Kevin had never been the type to fight his own battles. That's what charm was for. That's what manipulation was for. When those tools failed, he didn't know what to do with himself. So instead, he spit out a bitter, "You'll regret this, Daniel." I smiled. No, Kevin. I finally feel free. Then I turned to the crowd, what was left of it. If anyone here thinks this is just some drama, some family fight that'll blow over, you can leave now. But if you've ever been afraid to speak up because someone like Kevin made you feel small, this is your permission to stop staying quiet. Rachel grabbed my hand, and for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, I felt solid, grounded, like I wasn't drowning anymore. Kevin stormed off, muttering something under his breath. Maya stood, face streaked with mascara. Daniel, I'm pregnant. I tilted my head. Then maybe you should call Kevin. She looked down. I'm not sure if it's his. The crowd murmured again. I didn't blink. Then it's definitely not mine. She reached for me, but I stepped back. You chose him. You chose to be complicit in this. And now you want sympathy because the truth came out. Her voice dropped. I was scared. I thought if you found out about Rachel, you'd turn on me too. I didn't know what to do. You could have done the right thing. She looked at me like she was searching for the man I used to be. The man who forgave everything, who gave her endless chances. That man died when the photos hit the grass. Rachel and I walked out together, not saying much. Just breathing. Just existing outside that storm for the first time. As we reached my car, she paused. You okay? I leaned against the door. No, but I'm getting there. I didn't sleep that night. Even with Rachel curled up on the pull-out in the guest room and my phone finally on silent for the first time in years, my mind wouldn't let me rest. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that stack of photos falling. I heard Maya's voice, so calm, so vicious. Congrats. It's not your baby. And then Kevin's face, smug, cornered, still somehow believing he could charm his way out of a storm he created. But more than all of that, I kept replaying the voicemail I never got. The one Rachel left me last year. It had been the night after Thanksgiving, a small gathering at my parents' place. Kevin had brought some cheap red wine and was already buzzed when Rachel showed up late. I remember she looked off, quiet, avoiding eye contact with him. I chalked it up to one of their usual arguments. They'd always butted heads. But that night, something was different. The next day, she was gone. No texts, no calls, just silence. I blamed myself for not following up harder. But I also didn't know what I was following up on. Just a gut feeling, one I'd buried like everything else uncomfortable in this family. That morning, I made us coffee. Rachel sat across from me in the kitchen, hands wrapped around the mug like she needed it to anchor her. You sure you want to do this? I asked. She nodded slowly. If I don't now, I never will. So I sat there, listening as she took me back to the night everything changed. It started during dinner, she said. I was in the kitchen helping your mom clean up. Kevin came in behind me and said I looked good. I frowned. He's always been a flirt. That's not new. This was different, she said. He cornered me. Tried to joke about us finally getting along. Then he put his hand on my waist. I pushed it off. Told him to stop. Her voice cracked. He followed me down the hallway later when everyone was in the living room watching that dumb movie. I thought I was going to the bathroom. He pulled me into the guest room. She paused. I said no. Multiple times. I tried to leave, but he locked the door. He kissed me hard. I shoved him. Told him I'd scream. I felt sick. Nausea, rage, helplessness, like I was split down the middle. She looked at me. I got away. Eventually. But when I left that night, I didn't know who to call. I didn't even make it home. I just drove. Parked at a motel 2 towns over. That's when I called you. She sighed. I told you everything in the voicemail. Begged you to call me back. When you didn't, I thought, maybe Kevin was right. Maybe no one would believe me. So I left. Changed my number. Moved in with a cousin out in Arizona. She stared at her coffee. I was gone for a year, Daniel. And you never called. I rubbed my face. He deleted it. I swear to God, Rachel, I never heard a thing. She looked up, and for a second, I saw it. The hurt, the betrayal. Then she nodded. I know that now. There was a long pause. I should have known something was off when Kevin kept asking about you. I said. Kept saying you were probably just being dramatic or needed space. I bought it. You didn't want to believe he was capable of that, she said softly. I nodded. I didn't want to believe anyone in my family was. Silence settled between us. Not heavy, just sobering. She stood and walked to the window. You think your mom knew? I didn't answer right away. Because honestly, I wasn't sure. Maybe not consciously. But the signs were there. The way she brushed off Maya's coldness lately. The way she rushed to Kevin's defense yesterday. The way she always said, Kevin just has a strong personality, whenever someone brought up how manipulative he could be. Maybe she didn't want to know, I finally said. Because knowing would have meant doing something about it. Rachel nodded. That's how they protect men like him. With silence. With convenience. I stood and walked over to her. You're not going back to silence. Not ever again. She smiled faintly, then turned to me. There's more. My stomach dropped. Rachel. Not about me. About Maya. I stared at her. She knew before the pregnancy. Kevin told her. My jaw clenched. Told her what? What he did to me. I felt like the floor tilted. He framed it like it was a misunderstanding, Rachel said. Like I came on to him, and then regretted it. Maya didn't believe him entirely, but she didn't believe me either. I felt the rage bubble up again, hotter this time. She still got with him after that. Rachel nodded. She said she was trying to keep peace in the family. Said she loved you, but you were always too soft. That you wouldn't be able to handle the truth. The insult hit harder than I expected. Soft. All my life, I'd been called that. Sensitive. Quiet. Not like Kevin. And I let it define me. I tried to fix it. Toughen up. Prove I could take the hits. But now, I wore that softness like armor. Because it was never weakness. It was humanity. And it kept me from becoming like them. She told me all this a few days ago, Rachel continued. Said she was going to tell you the baby wasn't yours and run off with Kevin. But I think she wanted to punish you first. I turned away. My fists clenched at my sides. The betrayal stacked on betrayal was too much. I had trusted Maya with my future. My heart. My name. And she tried to bury me with lies. She's still trying to reach me, I muttered. Left 3 voicemails this morning. Are you going to listen to them? I shook my head. No. I've heard enough. Rachel walked back to the table and picked up her phone. So what now? I took a deep breath. I'm going to press charges. Rachel froze. I looked her in the eye. If you're ready, I'll go with you. I'll testify. Whatever you need. He's not getting away with it again. Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't cry. She just nodded. Thank you. And just like that, the next chapter of this nightmare began, with police reports, interviews, cold stares from family, and legal steps no one ever wants to take. But it was necessary. Because the silence stops with us. The first person to call after the party wasn't Maya. It was my mom. I didn't answer at first. Let it ring until it went to voicemail. She called again. Then again. On the fourth try, I finally picked up. Daniel, please, she said before I could say anything. Please tell me this is some kind of misunderstanding. That this can be fixed. Fixed? I asked. Like a leaky faucet? Like a scratch on the paint? I mean, look, Kevin is your brother. And Maya's hormonal. I'm sure things were said that. No, I cut her off. Things weren't just said. Things were done. Over and over again. Kevin assaulted Rachel. Maya covered it up and slept with him. And you stood there like your precious image of the family was more important than what was happening right in front of you. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You don't understand how hard this is for me. And you don't understand that I'm not your emotional dumping ground anymore. There was silence on the other end. A heavy, uncomfortable one. She finally said, your father doesn't want to take sides. Then you both already did. I hung up. That was the last time I spoke to my mother for a long while. Word spread fast. Kevin's job at the mortgage firm let him go within 3 days. Apparently, HR didn't want to deal with the potential liability. I got wind through a cousin that he was staying at a friend's house across town and refusing to speak to anyone outside a small circle of enablers. The same cousin told me Kevin had been trying to spin the story, claiming I had set him up, that Rachel was just some bitter ex-friend looking for attention. But the problem with lies is, once people see the truth, it's hard to unsee it. The folder Rachel brought to the party made its way into a police report. We sat in a sterile room under flickering lights, and she told her story again. Clearer this time, steadier. I was there. I held her hand. When they asked questions, she answered them with steel in her voice. When they tried to poke holes, she filled them with dates, details, receipts. I gave my own statement too. About the voicemail I never received. About the things Kevin said afterward that only made sense in hindsight. About the photos Maya left in the balloon. I thought reliving it would make me feel worse. It didn't. It made me feel cleaner. Like every word I spoke rinsed some of the filth off my skin. But the real fallout didn't come from court documents. It came from faces. At the grocery store. At the gas station. Online. People who'd known Kevin their whole lives now stared with narrowed eyes or avoided eye contact altogether. Some messaged me privately to say, I always had a weird feeling about him. Others said nothing but shared Rachel's article when it finally dropped 2 weeks later. Her story, in her own words, on a local survivor advocacy blog. It was raw, brutal, honest. It ended with, when silence serves the abuser, speaking up is the only kind of healing left. It went viral in our town. And Rachel? She became a symbol, not just of survival, but of endurance, of truth. And Maya? She unraveled. The first message came the night after the party. Can we talk? Then, I didn't know how to tell you. I panicked. Then, it's not Kevin's baby. It was a lie. I just wanted to hurt you because I thought you were pulling away from me. That one made me laugh. Out loud. Alone in my apartment. Pulling away? I had spent every waking moment of that relationship making sure she felt supported, safe, cared for. I took on extra hours. I gave her the better side of the bed. I drove to 3 different grocery stores for her damn pickle-flavored ice cream at midnight. I never pulled away. She pushed. And when she realized the ground beneath her was gone, she started scrambling for anything to make me turn around. I didn't answer her texts. So she showed up. I opened the door to find her on my porch, holding a small box. Her face was pale. No makeup. Hair pulled back like she didn't have the energy to fake it anymore. I just need a minute, she said. I didn't move. She held out the box. Ultrasound photos. And a test result. It's not Kevin's. I took the box. Looked inside. She was telling the truth. It wasn't Kevin's. But it wasn't mine either. Daniel, she said softly. I messed up. I lost myself. I thought if I could control the narrative, I could survive it. You made a circus out of my life, I said. You put those photos in the balloon. You chose humiliation over honesty. And for what? Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't know how to say it without losing everything. You lost everything the moment you decided my trust was worth less than your secrets. She stepped forward. Can you ever forgive me? I looked at her for a long time. At the woman I once thought I'd marry. The woman who sat across from me while I planned baby names and budgets and Sunday morning routines. And I said, no. Then I closed the door. The days that followed were strangely quiet. Rachel stayed with me for a few more nights. We didn't talk much about what happened anymore. Instead, we talked about small things, music, dumb reality shows, memories from when we were kids. She laughed more now. I did too. Eventually, she moved back into her own place. We still met weekly. Coffee, long walks, therapy appointments. We were healing, not through closure, but through clarity. And me? I started over. I took a few weeks off work. I moved out of the place Maya and I shared and found a small one-bedroom near the lake. I painted again, for the first time in years. I talked to a therapist. I deleted old photos, numbers, texts. One night, I pulled up an old voicemail I never erased. It wasn't from Maya or Kevin. It was from my dad from years ago. Son, family's everything. You protect it no matter what. Even when it's hard. He meant well, but he was wrong. Family isn't about protection. It's about truth. Because protection without truth is just another kind of silence. And I was done being silent. I never expected peace to be so damn loud. You'd think cutting off a cheating ex, pressing charges against your brother, and freezing out half your family would bring some kind of calm. Instead, it brought noise. Constant noise. Whispers from cousins, rumors on Facebook, veiled insults passed through mutual friends like smuggled contraband. But I didn't flinch. Not anymore. My phone stayed on Do Not Disturb for most of the week. Anyone who needed me knew how to reach me respectfully. And anyone who didn't, well, their silence was worth more than their opinion. I got a call from Aunt Marlene on a random Tuesday. I'm not picking sides, she said, but I think it's cruel to keep your mother in the dark. I laughed bitterly. She's not in the dark. She just refuses to open her eyes. You're being harsh, Daniel. No, I said. I'm being honest. For once. I hung up. Then I blocked her. The hardest part wasn't the silence. It was the ghosts. The ghosts of old routines. Like how I used to text Maya at lunchtime. How I'd come home and expect to hear her humming in the kitchen, reheating leftovers, and complaining about her day. The echo of those small, everyday things haunted me far more than the betrayal itself. It wasn't that I missed her. I missed who I thought she was. And that's what betrayal does. It doesn't just end a relationship. It robs you of your memories, too. Makes you question everything. Rewind every moment and wonder, was that fake too? I kept the ultrasound box for a while. Not because I cared about the baby, but because throwing it out felt too final. Eventually, I burned it in the fire pit behind my building. Watched it curl into ash. That helped. Rachel was the one person I didn't have to explain myself to. She'd text me random articles about trauma healing or send me TikToks of cats in sweaters when she sensed I was spiraling. One night, she stopped by with 2 bottles of wine and a deck of Uno cards. Uno, I said, raising an eyebrow. Therapy's too expensive, she said. I'm bringing us the budget version. We didn't talk about Kevin. We didn't talk about the court date that was inching closer. We just drank and played until we were tipsy and yelling and laughing so hard it hurt. At one point, she looked at me and said, "You seem lighter." I paused. I think I am. And it was true. Not healed. Not whole. But lighter. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't carrying other people's sins like they were mine to bear. A week later, Maya showed up again. This time, at my new place. I didn't open the door. She stood there for 15 minutes. I watched through the peephole as she paced, talked to herself, cried a little, and finally left a note. I read it later. It was desperate, incoherent in places. She said she missed me, said she was in therapy, said she didn't know who the father was, but she was scared to do it alone. I didn't write back. Not because I didn't feel anything. I did. But because not every apology requires a response. Some people aren't asking for forgiveness. They're asking to be freed from consequence. And I wasn't in the business of giving absolution to people who never earned it. Rachel and I went to court together for the initial hearing. Kevin wasn't there. His lawyer claimed personal health reasons. Probably hiding behind shame. Or still spinning his web. Didn't matter. What mattered was that Rachel stood up, looked a judge in the eye, and told the truth. I sat behind her the whole time, a silent witness, a friend, an anchor. Afterward, as we sat on the courthouse steps, she turned to me and said, "I used to think silence kept me safe." I nodded. "Me too." She exhaled. "I don't anymore." Neither did I. Weeks passed. People picked their sides. Some stayed silent. Some reached out to apologize for enabling Kevin or doubting Rachel. A few tried to play both sides and got promptly blocked. But the most surprising message came from Kevin himself. It was short. "You ruined my life. I hope you're proud." I didn't reply, but I read it 5 times. And on the 6th, I deleted it and said aloud to no one in particular, "I didn't ruin your life. You did." There was no dramatic moment of closure. No sit down with my mom. No tearful reconciliation with old friends. Just distance and peace, and the slow, steady rebuilding of a life that was finally mine. 6 months later, I stood in front of the mirror, trimming my beard, getting ready for something I never thought I'd attend again. A family reunion. Not mine. Rachel's. She'd invited me as her +1, emotional support platonic partner, she called it. Her family, especially her cousin Nadia, had taken me in like one of their own. No strings. No guilt. Just warmth. It was surreal. I never thought I'd associate the word family with comfort again. But here I was, buttoning a clean shirt, watching the man in the mirror. Same eyes. Same jawline. Same crooked nose. But different. Lighter. Firmer. No longer carrying the weight of pretending everything was okay. There was no court trial. Kevin took a plea deal. The details were sealed, but Rachel was satisfied. That's all that mattered. My mother sent a birthday card 2 weeks ago. No note. No return address. Just a card with a beach on the front that said, "Thinking of you." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Rachel's family reunion was held at a lakeside park. Kids ran around with bubble guns. Uncles grilled under big shaded canopies. And someone's dog kept trying to steal hot dogs off plates. It was chaos. It was messy. It was real. Rachel introduced me to her grandmother as the guy who knows how to make lasagna, and listen, I liked that title better than anything I'd ever had before. Later that afternoon, we walked down to the water, shoes in hand, jeans rolled up. "I think I'm happy," she said, staring out at the lake. I smiled. "I think I'm not terrified of being happy anymore." She turned to me. "Do you miss them? Your family?" It was a good question. "I miss the idea of them," I said. "The version I created in my head. The one where loyalty didn't mean silence, and love didn't mean swallowing pain." Rachel nodded. "You think they'll ever come around?" I shrugged. "Maybe. Maybe not. But I'm not waiting anymore. Because here's the thing. Everyone talks about the reveal like it's just the moment the balloon pops and the confetti falls. But the real reveal? It's what happens after. When the dust settles. When the masks come off. When you find out who people are, and more importantly, who you are, without the lies holding everything together. And me? I wasn't Daniel the peacekeeper anymore. I wasn't Daniel the younger brother. I wasn't even Daniel the almost father. I was just a man who faced the truth, stood up in the rubble, and said, "No more." Later that night, I sat by my window with a cup of tea, journaling, a habit I'd picked up in therapy. I wrote, "Sometimes, the family you lose makes space for the one you build. And sometimes, the people who break you just make room for the version of you that finally knows how to stand tall." Then I closed the notebook and sat there, just breathing. No texts from Maya. No calls from Kevin. Just silence. The right kind this time. If you've ever been forced to keep the peace while others burn bridges behind your back, this story is for you. Sometimes healing isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about walking away from what never valued you in the first place. Drop a comment if you've had to set boundaries with your own family, and tell us, what was your reveal?